We just want a peaceful Christmas with the younger crowd. Please don't take it personally. Ong don't come. That was the message. Just 22 words, but each one hit me like a cold slap in the face. Not loud, not cruel, but sharp enough to sting for days. I'm Ellen, I'm 70, and this will be the first Christmas my son told me I wasn't welcome. Not with yelling, not with some big family fight. No, with something worse. Politeness, distance, dismissal. It started with a ding from my phone while I was setting out the pine-scented candles. I'd been humming a carol, picturing Nathan's face when he saw the tree all lit up. George was still out in the garage, working on the snowblower. I opened the message. I remember how my hands stilled, how my breath caught halfway in my throat. We just want a peaceful Christmas with the younger crowd. I read it once, then again, then again. What was that supposed to mean? We were noise? A disturbance? My face got hot, but not from embarrassment, from shame, from the kind that comes when you realize someone doesn't want you. Please don't take it personally. That's the sentence that hit the hardest. I read it aloud under my breath, as if he thought this would soften the blow, as if pushing someone out gently made it kinder. It didn't. It made it worse. Because what it really meant was, don't react, don't ask questions, just take it quietly. And then the final 3 words, don't come. There it was. Not a suggestion, not a conversation, a decision. One I didn't get to be part of. A closing of the door with me on the outside. I sat down hard on the stairs, staring at the Christmas tree we'd just decorated 2 nights ago. The angel was leaning a little. I'd fix that myself, imagining Nathan pointing to it, asking questions. He wouldn't see it now. None of them would. We weren't invited. I read the message one more time, slower this time, as if reading between the lines would make it make sense. We just want a peaceful Christmas with the younger crowd. What was I? Chaos? Static? Did our presence make them uncomfortable? Did they think we were boring? Or too old to matter? It wasn't just the message that hurt. It was what it meant. I started remembering. Last year, I made a big batch of ginger cookies from scratch. Emily took one bite, smiled politely, and said, "Oh, these are a little more traditional. We're trying to cut back on sweets for the kids." I remember thinking I should have asked first. 2 years ago, I brought over a photo album to show Nathan. Emily said, "Let's not overwhelm him with too much family history right now. He's still learning our routine." Last spring, I offered to take Nathan to the park to give them a break. Adam said, "We appreciate that, but we don't want to get him used to things we can't maintain." As if love was a habit they needed to limit. That week, Emily texted me asking if I could just hold off on sharing so many pictures online because it might make things awkward with her side of the family. I took down every post, everyone. They didn't say thank you. Last summer, when I bought Nathan a science kit, Emily said it wasn't age appropriate and that they were trying to limit screen-related thinking. It wasn't electronic. It was hands-on, magnets, lenses, but they never opened it. Now this, don't come. 3 words that erased everything. The diaper changes, the sick days, the late-night phone calls, the holidays we worked around their schedules, the thousands we gave to help with their first mortgage payment, the week I spent painting their guest room so they wouldn't have to hire someone, the baby blanket I knit that disappeared from the crib a week after Nathan was born. All of it. Gone. George walked in just after sundown. Snowflakes were still clinging to his coat. He saw my face right away. "Ellie, you okay?" I handed him the phone. He read the message slowly, twice, then gave it back without a word. His eyes didn't show surprise, just something heavier, final. "If they don't want our warmth," he said quietly, "maybe it's time we showed them what they're really rejecting." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room in silence, lights blinking softly on the tree. I thought about the years. I remembered how Adam used to bring me drawings from school, how I kept everyone. the way he clung to my hand the first day of kindergarten. Now he sent a message to say we weren't welcome. I remembered how Emily once told me, "We're trying to build our own traditions." I agreed. I said I understood. I didn't understand this. I opened the gift box with Nathan's sweater, folded it slowly. I'd spent weeks on it. It was warm, a deep forest green, his favorite color. It would stay here now, in the closet, with the others. We had already wrapped books for him, a wooden puzzle, a snow globe with a tiny train inside. We picked each one carefully. Now I just looked at them and felt nothing, just tired. I sat back on the couch, remembering the last time Adam thanked me. I couldn't remember when that was. The last time he hugged me without being asked. The last time he called just to say hello. I thought maybe we had done too much, given too freely, made it too easy. Maybe they stopped seeing us as people. Maybe we were just background, old wallpaper they didn't want to stare at anymore. That was when I cried. Quiet tears, the kind that sit behind your eyes for days and finally slip out when the room is dark and no one is around to see. I didn't cry because we weren't invited to Christmas. I cried because I finally understood we were never really included, not in the way that mattered. We were useful until we weren't, convenient until we weren't. We were family in name only, and once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. For years, I'd made excuses, told myself they were busy, that it was just a new generation, that it wasn't personal. But it was. It had been. For a long time. I saw the pattern now. All the soft rejections, all the moments I was pushed aside with a smile. And that message, sent a week before Christmas, wasn't a surprise. It was a conclusion. I sat in that room for a long time until the lights on the tree turned off. Then I stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the snow-covered yard. The wind was soft, the street quiet, peaceful. Just not the kind of peaceful Adam meant, because this peace had grief in it, but it also had something else. Clarity. That night, something in me changed. Not out of anger, out of understanding. They made their choice, and now it was time we made ours. They say silence is golden, but that night it felt like armor. After everything, George and I didn't speak much. We didn't need to. The message from Adam hung in the air like stale perfume. Every word still clung to the walls. Don't come. So, we didn't. But we didn't stay home either. It was George who first spoke the idea aloud. We were sitting at the kitchen table the next morning, each of us quietly stirring coffee. We weren't drinking. "Let's go away," he said. I looked up, surprised. "Where?" He shrugged. "Somewhere they'll never expect. Somewhere beautiful, just us." At first, I hesitated. It felt like running away. But then something in me shifted. No, this wasn't running. This was reclaiming. We didn't owe anyone an explanation. We didn't need permission. We still had the means. And for once, we would use it for ourselves. So, we booked the villa. Squaw Valley. One of California's most exclusive winter resorts. Snow-capped roofs, warm fires, and a view that looked like something out of a painting. It cost more than we had ever spent on a trip before. But we didn't flinch, because this time it wasn't about them. It was about us. We arrived 2 days before Christmas. The driveway was lined with lanterns. Inside, the ceiling soared. A wall of glass gave us a view of the mountains so stunning it made me stop breathing for a second. We decorated the place ourselves. Nothing overdone. Just warm lights, garlands, a few gold ornaments we picked up from a small shop in town. I hung 3 stockings by the fire, one for me, one for George, and one blank one. Not for them, for what was missing. We lit a fire, played our favorite records, and ordered food from the best caterer in town. Lobster tail, scalloped potatoes, buttery rolls, and desserts, too fancy to pronounce. We didn't do it to show off. We did it because we had spent decades pouring ourselves into others, into Adam, into Emily, into a family that only seemed to value us when we were useful. Now, it was time to pour back into ourselves. On Christmas Eve, we dressed up. I wore the turquoise cashmere gown I'd bought 3 years ago for a Christmas that never happened. George wore his tuxedo, the one he hadn't touched since Adam's wedding. We had lobster, champagne, a string quartet played in the corner. I know that sounds dramatic, but it wasn't about the show. It was about joy. We invited no one from the family, but we did invite people who had always treated us with kindness. Old friends, a neighbor who used to help me shovel, a woman George once mentored. People who saw us, people who said things like, "I missed you," or "You always made the holidays feel like home." Not once did anyone say, "Can you bring something?" or "Try not to talk politics." Not once did I feel like a guest in my own celebration. And that night, I laughed. I laughed like I hadn't in years. Not politely, not for anyone else. I laughed for myself. We toasted to the snow outside, to the music, to the people who came without expectations. And somewhere in the middle of the evening, I noticed something. Phones were out. Photos were being taken. Videos, too. I didn't ask for it. But the house, the lights, the outfits, it all looked like something out of a movie. And people shared it. "Can you believe this place?" one guest said. "This is the most beautiful Christmas I've ever seen." Someone tagged the location. Someone else posted a reel. I didn't stop them. Because for once, it wasn't about pretending. It was real. The fire was real. The music was real. The laughter was real. The joy was real. Later that night, after everyone left and the villa was quiet again, I stood by the window watching the snow fall. The sky was navy blue, full of stars. George wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. "Merry Christmas," he said. I leaned into him and whispered, "For the first time in years, it actually feels like one." We stood like that for a long time. Two people who had spent their lives giving, now learning how to receive from each other, from the world, from themselves. I woke up Christmas morning and checked my phone, not out of hope, just habit. 69 missed calls, all from Adam. My stomach turned. I didn't open the messages right away. I just stared at the number. I could feel the question starting already. "Was that your villa? Are you really in Squaw Valley? Why didn't you tell us?" But the one that hurt the most was probably this. We didn't mean it. It was just a misunderstanding. Now that we had something they didn't, we suddenly mattered. Funny how that works. I set the phone down. George was pouring coffee. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. We both knew what this was. They weren't sorry. They were surprised. Surprised that we had a life beyond them. Surprised that we had more than they thought. Surprised that we hadn't begged to be included. And in that moment, I felt no need to answer, because we finally understood. Love is a gift, but so is distance. That Christmas, surrounded by laughter, snow, and people who genuinely cared, I gave myself something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. The next few days, the posts kept spreading. One friend tagged us in a video. Another posted a group photo with the caption, "Best Christmas Ever." By the third day, even people from our church back home were commenting, "You both look wonderful. Ellen, that dress is stunning. George still knows how to throw a party." And still, nothing from Adam but missed calls and vague texts. No apology, just confusion. And I realized something. For years, I had chased their approval like a prize I hadn't earned yet. I thought if I just gave more, stayed quieter, showed up better, they'd see me. But now, I didn't need to be seen by them. I needed to see myself, and I did. In that villa, in that dress, in that quiet, snow-lit morning, I finally saw who I had always been, and I wasn't invisible anymore. The first message came at 6:12 a.m. on Christmas morning, then another, and another. By the time I poured my coffee, the screen on my phone was glowing with missed calls, 69, all from Adam. He hadn't called that many times in the past year combined. At first, I didn't touch it. I just sat there, mug in hand, staring at the blinking notification. It wasn't the calls that bothered me. It was the timing, the desperation, the sudden interest, because I knew what it wasn't. It wasn't love. It wasn't concern. It was panic. And I didn't need to open a single message to know why. They had seen the posts, our Christmas, the villa, the music, the friends, the outfits, the joy. We didn't announce it, didn't flaunt it, but we didn't hide it either. For once we just lived, and people noticed, and suddenly we were visible. Not as grandparents, not as backups, not as optional figures hovering at the edge of their lives, but as people. People with something they wanted. I finally opened the first voicemail around 8:09 a.m. The message was short, breathless. "Mom, please call me back. It's important. We need to talk." No apology. No Merry Christmas. No acknowledgement of what he'd done. Just, "We need to talk." We. As if we were still a unit. As if we were still on the same team. I played another one. Then another. "Is that place really yours? Are you okay? Why didn't you tell us you were going away? I didn't mean what I said. It came out wrong." Wrong. Don't come doesn't come out wrong. It comes out clear. I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. Every word I heard felt like a slow unraveling. Not of their lies, but of mine. The ones I'd told myself. They're just busy. They don't mean to be hurtful. They'll come around. But now, with every message Adam left, I could feel the truth getting louder. They didn't think we mattered, until they saw that others thought we did. George walked in, carrying a tray of croissants. He saw the look on my face and raised an eyebrow. "Calls?" I nodded. He set the tray down and pulled out a chair. "You listen to any of them?" "A few, same old tone. Half regret, half demand." He smiled without humor. Amazing what a fireplace and a good caterer will do to a man's memory. I let out a dry laugh. Apparently, we're interesting again. We both knew what it was: control. Adam wasn't trying to reconnect. He was trying to regain the upper hand, to remind us of our place, to fold us back into the box where we were small, quiet, and always available. But that box didn't fit anymore, because now I had seen what it looked like to live without waiting for their approval, and I wasn't going back. Around noon, a new message popped up, this time from Emily. "We saw the pictures. Beautiful place. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. Nathan misses you." No question mark. No emotion. Just flat. Then a second one. Moments later. "Would love to talk soon. Maybe clear the air." Clear the air? That phrase dug at me. Like we had both polluted something. Like we shared the blame. They shut the door. We just stopped knocking. That's not the same. I read the message again, this time focusing on the word that made my stomach twist. Nathan. That was the one string left that still tugged at my heart, because it wasn't his fault. He didn't tell us not to come. He didn't push the photo album away or leave the sweater unopened. He was a child. But they used his name like a hook, like bait. And it worked. It stung. But it didn't move me, because I knew the pattern. Anytime they wanted something, it was Nathan who suddenly missed us. Not during the quiet months, not when the days were long and uneventful. No calls then. But now, with questions circling and people asking, they remembered we existed. And that's when it hit me. Hard. Years ago, after my mother passed, I found her old journal. In it, she wrote about the loneliness she felt in her last decade, about waiting for calls that didn't come, cards that never arrived, visits that were always delayed. And I remember reading her words and thinking, I won't let that be me. But here I was, just like her, an afterthought in the lives I helped build. And yet now, as their world cracked, they came knocking. Not because they saw me, but because they saw what I had. I turned off the phone. We went for a walk that afternoon. The snow was thick. the air sharp. George held my hand the whole time. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. When we got back, there were more messages. We're in trouble. The bank called again. Please, can we meet? There it was. The truth, finally slipping through. It wasn't about the villa. It was about their house, their finances, their needs. We had been erased until they needed erasing debt. I sat on the edge of the bed and let that truth sink in. I remembered something else, something I hadn't thought about in years. It was a moment, small but sharp. It was when Adam was in college. He had called home because he was short on tuition money. George and I had just fixed the roof that week. Money was tight, but we wired him the funds within an hour. No questions, no complaints. He never said thank you. Not then, not after. Just sent a text weeks later that said, "Got it." That was it. And now, here we were again. Same voice, same panic, same expectation. I opened one last voicemail. Adam's voice was shaking. "Please don't shut us out. I know we messed up. I thought we had more time." Time for what? To keep dismissing us? To keep pushing until we finally broke? George came in and sat beside me. He rested his hand on mine. "They're not looking for family, Ellie. They're looking for a bailout." I nodded. "And they want it with no questions asked, no accountability, just a reset." He nodded back. "But we can say no." And that was the moment I realized how far we'd come. Because a year ago, I would have caved. I would have cried. I would have blamed myself. I would have offered help before they even asked. But now I saw them clearly, and I saw us too. We weren't heartless. We were human, and it was okay to draw a line. That evening, we poured 2 glasses of wine, sat by the fire, and talked it through. Not out of anger, out of love, for ourselves. "What do we say if they ask again?" I asked. George didn't hesitate. "We say the truth, that we're here for family, not manipulation, not rescue missions." I nodded. "We can help," I said, "but only if they take the first step themselves, only if they show they value us, not just what we can give." And just like that, the decision was made. We would meet, but not to apologize, to set the record straight. The phone kept ringing well into the night, but for the first time, we weren't afraid to let it. We met at a small cafe in town, one of those quiet places with chipped mugs and secondhand bookshelves. George and I arrived early and chose a table in the corner, facing the door. The snow outside was beginning to melt, leaving gray slush on the sidewalks. It matched the mood in my chest. Adam walked in, 10 minutes late. His coat was too thin for winter. His hair was unkempt. He didn't even look at us at first, just kept rubbing his hands together and scanning the room like he wasn't sure he wanted to be there. But he was there, because he needed something, not because he missed us, not because he suddenly valued us. He sat down across from us without a hello. "The bank gave us until the end of next month," he said. That was it. No, "How are you?" No, "You look good." Not even a weak apology, just a deadline. I waited. I let the silence grow. He fidgeted, cleared his throat, then finally looked at me. "Mom, I didn't mean to shut you out. We just thought we needed a smaller celebration this year. You know, the kids, the noise. Emily said it would be better this way." I felt something inside me go very still, not angry, just cold, because I knew that tone, the soft justification, the way he blamed the situation or his wife or the atmosphere, never himself. And worst of all, he said it like it was reasonable, like asking your parents not to come for Christmas could be explained away with a wave of the hand and a vague reference to noise levels. I looked at George. He didn't move, just watched Adam with a gaze that made me proud, strong, steady, done. I turned back to Adam. "You didn't just shut us out," I said calmly. "You made it clear we weren't wanted, that we were inconvenient." Adam shifted in his seat. "I didn't mean for it to sound like that." "But it did," I said, and for the first time in years, I didn't soften my words. You said, "Don't come." You didn't say, "We'll miss you," or "Can we celebrate another day?" You shut the door, Adam, and you didn't look back. He looked down at the table. His fingers traced the edge of the sugar packet. Still no apology. George leaned forward. "We saw the messages, all 69 of them. We heard your panic. But not once did we hear you say you were sorry. Not once did you say you understood what you did." Adam's jaw tightened. "I was trying to fix things." "By asking for money?" I said. He flinched. "It's not like that." "Isn't it?" George asked. "We helped you with tuition. We helped with your first house. We helped after the second baby. We've been helping your whole life. And when we needed kindness, just kindness, we got a text." Adam looked up finally, and I saw it in his eyes. Not shame, resentment. As if our presence at that table was a burden. As if we were the ones being difficult. That was the moment my heart broke a little more, because I realized he didn't come to ask. He came to expect, like it was owed to him. He leaned back and said, "I didn't come here to argue." "No," I said. "You came here to collect." The server arrived and poured coffee for us. We sat in silence while she placed the cups down, asked if we needed anything else, and left. Adam picked up his cup. He didn't drink. "We might lose the house," he said finally. "Emily's parents can't help anymore. We didn't tell the kids yet." "And what will you tell them if we say no?" George asked. Adam blinked. That clearly hadn't occurred to him. I took a breath. This was the moment, the line we had to draw. "You can fix this," I said. "You can talk to the bank, restructure things, sell the car, take on extra work. You're not helpless." "You don't understand," he said sharply. That tone made my stomach turn. That old, familiar way he dismissed us, as if our age somehow erased our wisdom, as if he'd lived through more hardship than we had. George reached into his coat and took out an envelope. He placed it on the table. Adam stared at it. "That's not a check," George said. "It's a list of financial advisors, a contact at the credit union, a copy of a budget plan." Adam didn't reach for it. "You're not giving us anything?" he asked. "We're giving you what we should have given you years ago," I said. "Responsibility." He stood. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I can't believe this," he muttered. "After everything." I stood too. Exactly. After everything. That's when his voice got louder. He wasn't just upset. He was angry, furious. "You're really going to leave your own family hanging," he snapped. "All that money, and you'd rather spend it on lobster and ski trips than help your own son." Heads turned in the cafe. George remained seated, but his hand curled into a fist on the table. "Emily was right," Adam hissed. "You only care about appearances. You post pictures to make us look bad, and now you act like we're strangers." My heart beat faster, not from fear, but from the surge of truth that was ready to be said. "We posted nothing," I said. "Others did. We lived our lives, for once. And you turned that into an insult." "Your lives?" Adam's laugh was bitter. "You think you're being noble? You're smug, selfish. All these years you acted like martyrs. Well, guess what? Maybe we needed a break from the guilt trips." George stood then, slow and calm. "Guilt trips? No, that was love. You just didn't recognize it anymore." Adam's hands went up. "I knew this was a mistake. Emily said it was. You think you're above us now? You think because you took some fancy vacation you're untouchable? No," I said. "We just stopped begging to be treated with respect." That shut him up for a moment. He grabbed the envelope roughly, ripped it open, and stared at the contents. "So this is it? Budget advice? No real help?" "This is help," George replied. "Help that doesn't enable you. Help that makes you stand on your own." "You've changed," Adam muttered. "No," I said. "We just woke up." He stormed out. The bell on the door jangled violently behind him. We paid the bill quietly. No one spoke to us as we left, but I could feel their eyes. Judging, curious, uncertain. Outside, the air hit my face like truth. Cold. Clean. We walked slowly, hand in hand. My steps felt heavy. But not from regret. From finality. I had always thought setting boundaries would feel like failure, but it didn't. It felt like breathing. That evening, back at the villa, we didn't say much. We sat by the fire, watched the flames, and let the quiet settle. I checked my phone once, a new message from Adam. I guess we know where we stand. I didn't reply. Because yes, we did. But the most unexpected thing happened a week later. A week later, I received a letter. Not an email, not a text. A real letter, sealed in an envelope with our address written in Adam's handwriting. I stared at it for a while. My fingers ran along the edge, but I didn't open it right away. I placed it on the table beside my tea and sat down, letting the quiet hum of the villa settle over me. George was reading in the other room. I wanted to be alone with whatever this was. When I finally opened it, the letter began simply, "Mom, Dad, I was angry. Still am, I guess. But I'm not sure anymore who I'm angry at." There were no apologies, no responsibility, just blame that shifted from us to his wife to life itself. And beneath every line, every sentence, I felt it, the same refusal to look inward. He wrote about the kids, how hard things had been lately, how embarrassed he felt not being able to give them what they used to have. He mentioned Emily, said she was disappointed in him and thought we were making a point at his expense. Making a point, as if our entire lives, our absence, our dignity, were just chess pieces in some moral game. I folded the letter back into the envelope, not because it was precious, but because I was done letting his words breathe too much air. That afternoon, George and I took a walk through the snowy trails behind the villa. The path was quiet, branches heavy with frost, and the sky a soft silver. We didn't talk about the letter. We didn't need to, because we already knew. We knew who we were now, and more importantly, who we would never be again, the silent supporters waiting for crumbs of kindness. The phone calls from Adam stopped. So did the angry texts. There was only silence, and in it, something surprisingly peaceful. Emily, however, did not stay silent. She messaged me weeks later, polite, cold, and sharp. "You've fractured the family for your pride," she wrote. "You've taught the children that money matters more than love. One day they'll remember how you turned your back when we needed you." I read it 3 times. Each time I felt less and less. Because love without respect isn't love. And silence after rejection isn't pride. It's healing. I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. I just left the message there, where it could rot in its own righteousness. 3 months later, spring arrived in Squaw Valley. The villa was quiet again, snow melting from the eaves, wildflowers beginning to bloom, and then something surprising happened. Our granddaughter, Claire, messaged me directly. She was 17, sweet, thoughtful, and often caught in the middle of adult tempers she didn't understand. Her message was short. "Hi, Grandma. I miss you. Can I visit this summer?" Tears stung my eyes before I could stop them. I showed George. He smiled and nodded. We replied together. "Yes, sweetheart, you are always welcome." That one line changed everything for me, because for the first time in years, I felt loved without strings. She came in July alone. Adam didn't call. Emily didn't message. Claire arrived with a small bag, wide eyes, and a hug that melted everything tight inside me. She didn't ask about the conflict. She didn't take sides. She just sat with us, helped make meals, and asked stories about when her dad was young. We told the good stories, the soft ones, the ones where love hadn't yet grown conditional. And then she said something I'll never forget. "Thank you for not making me choose." I nearly broke, because I knew how hard that line must have been to walk. I saw the shadow in her eyes when we dropped her off at the airport. a shadow that didn't belong to her, but to years of silence and resentment passed down from those who refused to take responsibility. She kissed my cheek before boarding. I love you both. I always will. We watched her go, and I didn't cry, because this wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something new, a quieter legacy, one where love didn't mean erasing yourself. We celebrated Christmas at the villa again that year, with friends, with music, with laughter, and yes, with gifts under the tree, not expensive ones, but thoughtful ones. No one asked about Adam. No one brought up the letter, and I didn't miss the tension. I didn't miss the obligation. I missed the dream I used to have, the one where family always meant kindness. But that dream is gone now, and in its place is something real. I don't need to be wanted by people who only remember me when they're in trouble. I don't need to keep proving my worth to those who measure love by usefulness. George and I built a life full of warmth, and finally, we are living it, not performing it. So if you've ever felt like you don't belong, you're not alone. We didn't walk away from family. We walked toward peace.